Hey, what's up, everybody? Brian Decker here with my boy Christian Stone. Welcome to another episode of Modern Empire. Today, I'm super pumped about this podcast. We got not only one of my really good friends, but the number 2 realtor here in Riverside County. Guy has just been on a skyrocketing mission to success over the last couple of years. Dude crushed it last year. 250 closed deals, hit his goals, hit his numbers. When I first met this guy a couple years ago, he walked into my office. I knew he had it, but I mean, he's even surprised me on all the stuff that he's done. He's been pushing me to the next level. So Stone, I know, is a good friend with him too. So say what's up, everybody.
All you, Stites. Dude, so pumped to be here. First podcast ever. I can't wait to get it out of me. I've been waiting for you guys to ask me, so I'm actually really stoked to be here. I'm like, all right, how many are they going to have to get through until it's my turn? So super pumped to be here. You know what's funny is I was just talking about this the other day when we met. So you never solicited us for business.
No.
Decker. It never came up. You never hit us up. And actually how it happened was, on our listing side, we kept running into you representing the buyer for the lender, and those deals were smoother than our listing side, our buyer side deals that we were closing. We're like, wait a second, maybe we should start using this dude. So set up an appointment with you, came in, and dude, it's been fun ever since. So
yeah, it's been dope. I remember when you and Sandy walked in, and when you guys sent me out, and I'd obviously been on a bunch of your guys' deals, and all of a sudden, I felt like you guys kind of, in a certain extent, I was like, 2 years prior, I was like, I'd maybe seen your name, every here and there. I saw your, Tundra and stuff like that around town. And then all of a sudden, I was like, these guys are picking up some traction. And when you guys reached out to me, I was like, all right, sweet. That saved me from having to solicit you guys or figuring out some creative way to get in. And then we sat down, and then obviously we'd done business for a little while, and then we ended up, with our kids pretty much being, super close to the same age, we ended up becoming good friends. And then now to literally watch you, because I think how many deals did you guys do in 2016?
So 2016, we closed 90, I think just over 90 transactions.
And what about 17?
17, we jumped up to 142.
Okay.
And then this year, on the dot, 250, which put us number 2 in Southwest Riverside County.
Hell yeah.
So for the people who don't understand real estate numbers, what does the average real estate agent close in a year?
I don't know, 6 or 8 maybe.
Yeah.
6 to 8 transactions. So you're basically closing that, I don't know.
A week.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, and then what I heard was 2 years ago doing 90 to 140 to 250, you're basically doubling your business every year. That's what I want to get into, how do you double your business? Because there's realtors, there's anybody who owns a business that has done the same business for 5 to 10 years consecutively. How do they go from X number in whatever business to doubling their business? So that's what I'm really excited to get into for sure.
And I think too, what people need to realize is you didn't come from some super rich family. I think that's why, especially the three of us have always been good friends, is because we all came from, I know your mom and and your stepdad were in real estate, but we all know real estate, you make a bunch of money and you lose a bunch of money. That's just what cycles go through. I know my dad drove a forklift. Christian, your dad was in the public service sector as a fireman and all of that. So people need to know that you didn't just have a big bank account to fund your project. So what the hell did you do to go from 90 to 250 in 24 months?
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that. I think the Zings are probably, that's my parents, the Zings, that they're the best at making a lot of money and blowing all that money and losing all that money.
And they're going to listen to this.
And I hope they're going to listen to this, and they love this story. But literally when we were kids, on, I think it was Tuesdays and Thursdays at McDonald's, Tuesdays was 29-cent hamburgers, and Thursdays was 39-cent cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
And we would go and we would buy 30-something cheeseburgers, and that would feed us throughout the week. And to me, that was normal. And to me, as a kid, I'm stoked. I'm like, hell yeah, McDonald's, this is bomb. But looking back on it now, in having kids, I'm like, wow, I never want my kids to experience that. Mm-hmm. So Yeah, man, it's fun. So going back to your question, how do you double your business every single year? Okay, so there's probably going to come a point to where that starts slowing down, but we haven't hit that yet. And really, we talk about this every single day. We're treating our business like a business. The reason most realtors only sell 8 to 10 homes a year is because they treat it like a hobby.
Yeah.
They treat it like a hobby, and it's not a hobby. It's a business. It's a career. And what I had the benefit of was my business background and applying it to my parents' real estate world and just growing from there. So every single day, we treat the business like I go into work and there's a boss over me. Yeah. In my mind, there's a boss over me watching what I do. I have to be there at 8 o'clock. I can't leave before 5, 6 o'clock. And we make that time in the office as productive as possible.
Yeah. And I think too, from somebody that has worked with, I don't even know how many thousands of agents I've worked with, because they get a 1099 and they're technically self-employed, they feel like that they get to create their own hours in their own schedule, but they end up being their worst enemies because they themselves, are like, I have my freedom of schedule, and they don't have the discipline it takes to be like, you know what? I may not have a boss, but I need to set the precedent because I need to hold myself to that routine. And I feel like once people let that cancer creep into their bodies of, you know what? I can go in at 9 o'clock today instead of 8 o'clock, right? Once you do that once, it's so much easier to do it the next day and the next day and the next day. And it's funny because when I go into your guys' office, you guys are always banging on the phones. You guys always have your stuff on the board. Everything's organized. Your guys' TCs are awesome to work with. So when you started going into that, did you build out the systems before the business came, or did you have to build out the systems to handle the business that came in?
Quite honestly, I don't think you're ever really ready for the business to come in. So it's really both at the same time, and you're perfecting everything as it's happening. And what's great about real estate and what's great about really any business is as you get busier, your holes are exposed.
Yeah.
The gaps in your business are exposed when you get busier. So that's the time. I love it when something isn't exposed because that means we're busy. That means we're doing good. That means we're hitting on all 8 cylinders and it's go, go, go. So fix those gaps and keep pressing forward.
Okay, so our listeners aren't all in real estate, right? So what I was thinking, what I was hearing is like you set your real estate business up as a business. So like compared to my friend that owns a car mobile detail business, he does extremely well detailing cars, and people think like, well, you can't make that much money detailing cars. If you knew his income, you would change your whole mindset. What do you think are like the key factors? You said schedule. Okay, yes. So sticking to a business schedule, 9 to 5, because you don't have to be at the office. Or 8 to 5. There's nobody holding you there. What are say like 2 other things that you could think of that run your real estate business as a business that would relate to every other business out there?
So scheduling is huge. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people overlook it, and a lot of people overlook what you're actually doing during that time. So scheduling is great. Time blocking within your schedule is probably the most important thing that you could do. We call it our super fucking focus time. Okay. So while we're in that time, nothing is interrupting us. So from 8 to 10, we're prospecting. Mm-hmm. From 10 to 12, we're doing our follow-ups. There is nothing that will come up. I don't care really. Well, I guess that doesn't really apply. Yeah. So there's no life or death situations with real estate. I guess, with other professions there are.
Yeah.
But in most professions, nothing's a life or death situation. Something can wait 2 or 3 hours so that you can get through your productive time to move forward. So some people are great with schedules. There's a second level to scheduling to really take you to that next level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's crazy that you said that because it's funny because what I noticed when I've interviewed or talked to just even my mentors, what they have always said to me is that your brain functions at its highest capacity once you enter in a particular topic or a particular task 30 to 40 minutes into that task. And they said the problem with most people reason why they never become successful is they're starting, they're 15, 20 minutes into a task and they get that squirrel complex, right? Like squirrel, and they look to the left or the right, and they never reach that high level brain capacity that allows them to really start honing in on things. And most people, just the way we think, just as a culture, Instagram, why is Instagram so awesome? Because it's instant gratification. It's picture, 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 picture. And it like, we want that instant stimulation. And the problem is to be successful in business, we've got to fight popular culture to really tune out the world and to dive into that. And it's funny that you say that because you're exactly right. Because most people on their things are like, well, what if I missed that? What if I missed that email? Like, I got to respond to them right away. And people realize, like, if you're going to respond to them right away, you're taking yourself out of something that's going to generate that next email and that next bit of business, right? I mean,
well, that brings up a topic with me. So we have obviously sticking to schedule and then time blocking, but putting out fires, right? People think like, okay, well, David Stites is really good. He did 250 deals last year, but his customers suffered, which isn't true because honestly, if you think your customer service experience based on agent who's doing 8 to 10, yours is probably better.
Yeah.
But why is that?
So the reason we built a team is so that we can keep customer service at a high level while still doing a lot of transactions. Mm-hmm. That is basically the only reason to start a team. It's to start leveraging yourself, putting yourself in different opportunities, bringing in other people to give them opportunities, right, and leverage yourself up.
Because you have that person where it's, what I've noticed with your guys' team specifically is you think about an individual, like when you have a football player or a baseball player, they don't play every position. No, they you would never put your first baseman to pitch and expect them to do that same level of performance. And what you guys have used with all the discs and all the tests that you guys do with people, you evaluate their personalities and will put them, okay, are they best on the listing side or buyer side? So when you kind of look to do that, when did you notice like, okay, I'm running a real business, I have to actually sit there and figure out all those pieces. At what amount of transactions that you were doing per month did you realize, like, this is too much for me and Sandy to handle? I got to really build that new team. Like, where was that crossing point?
Yeah, I think it's around that 8 deal a month. Once you get to about 8 deals a month, there's a lot of moving parts that are going on. There's a lot of phone calls. You're getting mixed up with different transactions. Things start getting sloppy. And again, once you get busy, the gaps in your business appear. So for us, it was 8 deals.
Gotcha.
And then we knew it's time to leverage ourselves. The thing about most business owners and small business owners is we try to do everything ourselves. We try to be the master of everything, and that is the worst thing you could do. And we do it because we're scared. We do it because we're cheap. Mm-hmm. We don't want to spend the money. We think we could do everything better ourselves, and it couldn't be more false.
Yeah.
So once you get over that point in your business where you realize I should have someone else doing this because A, I don't have time, or B, I'm terrible at doing this, right? Yeah. Like I can't get this done. I don't understand it. That is when your business is going to take off.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny to notice because I think is when you build something and it's your baby, it's that same thing with kids. You don't want to let somebody else take care of your baby. But you as a parent, if you've been up for 24 hours, you're not as good of a dad as somebody else who's going to come in and kind of watch your kid. And I think it's just that narcissistic sense sometimes that because we've gotten it to this point, we don't want to let go. And when you started to delegate is when I noticed you guys just blew up. When you guys started to assign people to a particular task, you had people following up at certain points, and then nowadays, where you have so many automations that came in. And I personally think from an outsider's perspective looking in, I think a lot of the reasons for your guys' success was you also constantly are looking to innovate because you yourself are, you're in your mid 30s. So you realize that technology can kind of make your business more efficient. I mean, what would you say from a technology standpoint has been probably one of the best things that you've ever invested in? Or what are you doing right now you've been like, I can't imagine I lived before I did this?
Yeah, great question. So the technology side is huge. I attribute a lot of our success to the technology that we have used and continued to move forward. But I mean, we're talking about our database, our CRM. We're talking about our autoresponders that go out, our email drips that go out, just all of those amazing touch points in between actual humans making phone calls and making text messages. Like, because we can only do so much, right? And we can only expect someone that's working for us or an agent that's working for us, they're only going to make so many phone calls, or they're only going to do so many text messages. So to have that automation, to leverage that automation, and the amazing thing about technology is once it's set up, dude, it's set up. It's done. Let it run. Let it do its thing. So huge. Absolutely huge.
So obviously some people don't have technology for their business, but you talk about delegation. What is something everybody could do in a business where they could delegate more? Because obviously more hats, the less income you're actually going to make, right? If you're wearing more hats as one person. What can people think outside the box to help them delegate?
Okay, so really what you need to do, and this applies to any business owner out there, is what are you terrible at? What are you terrible at, or what do you absolutely hate doing that you push off and it never gets done?
What did we just talk about?
Yeah, exactly.
Huge thing for me. I'm terrible at tech, but you kind of like tech.
I kind of like it.
And I'm like, okay, I'm not setting up this stuff. I just got to pay for somebody to finally do it. But I feel like that is a huge part of the business, right? So I have to have that, I wouldn't say scared, but I have to have that leap of faith, I guess you could say, to pay the money to have somebody set up the tech. So are you saying somebody that owns a business to have a leap of faith to figure out what they're not good at and to delegate that to somebody else or another company?
Yes, and every business owner knows what they're not good at.
Okay.
Every single one. I can go to you and I can probably grab 5 things out of you that you absolutely despise doing, that you push off and end up at the end of the day not doing.
Right.
Brian Decker. I can do the same thing with you, and someone can do the same thing with me. And the reason that we've had success, the reason the Brian Deckers have had success, the reason the Christian Stones have had success is we figure those things out and we hire people to step in.
Nice.
And life gets better. Like, I know for me, I absolutely hated sending the same updates over and over and over again. Like, I just didn't like it. Like, it was one of those things where I was just like, there has got to be a better way to send this when the message is the same to the individual. There's got to be a better way to do it. So what do? You get somebody to come out there and create video content for you that can deliver it in that way. So not only is the customer getting a better experience from it, but you're getting away with something you want to do. Because we all won't do it. And if you hire somebody to do it, they're going to force you to that completion, because we all don't like to spend money. And so if you're spending money on something, you're going to carry it through to completion because you don't want to spend that money for it. Because I mean, everybody in any industry we know, I always joke around all the time. It's like with my wife, she doesn't ask me to do any home improvement projects around the house anymore because I pretended I was so bad at them for so long that she stopped asking me to do it. So she hires a handyman to hang pictures, because I hated it. And like most people are like, dude, just hang the picture up. No, I don't like doing it. So I would much rather spend $200 a month for a handyman to come to my house and do all the crap that I don't want to do. But before I had my business running stuff, I would have never thought to do that. But then once you start liking delegating, you're like, this is awesome. Yeah. I can get rid of all the crap I don't like doing anymore and give it to somebody that likes doing it. Yep.
Well, Brian, I love that you bring this up. And it's one of the most amazing topics that I talk about with other business owners or other real estate teams is, as a small business owner, we are in control of how we set up our business. Yeah. So why do we set it up? Why do we set it up to where it sucks?
Yeah.
Because initially we all set it up and it's terrible. Yeah. We hate it. Yeah. We have to do things that we're not good at. We try to do everything under the sun ourselves, but we're in control of this. So why do we do this to ourselves? Yeah. Set it up how you want to set it up. Our last hire on the team freed me up to where now, dude, I'm excited every single day to go into work because I get to do a little bit in the business, but the majority, I get to work on the business. Yeah. And that's really the fuel to take you to where you're going to double your business. Once you could stop working as much in the business and really start thinking big picture to outside, work on the business instead of in, that's where you're going to hit the magic.
I feel like we talked about that like 6 months ago when you did do that new hire, and we were a little, you were a little scared because you're like, dang, she's really expensive.
It was a little bit of money.
But now, being 6 months later, do you think that it's paid for itself?
Best hire.
Best hire.
Best hire yet.
Okay. I'm in kind of that transition period. I think I'm a little bit over the hump on that side now, but I think it's because we're scared. And it's not always because of money, but I feel like it's because, well, I'm going to hire that person, but they can't do as good as me. And that's what I'm scared of. So I know that others are scared of that. How do you fight that part? I know you have a percentage rule on that.
Right. So if they could do it 80%,
okay.
If they could do it 80% as good as you, let them do it. Let it go. Here's the part that some people don't get. They hire that person on, and then they hit the cruise control button. Mm-hmm. Don't be that person. Right. Hire that person to be able to leverage you to do what you're good at, right? Because we're hiring these people to do the stuff that you don't want to do or that you're not good at, so it frees you up to do the things that you're good at. Make sure you don't hit that cruise control when you make that hire, which is a lot of agents' downfall. They hire that first assistant. So as a realtor, usually your first hire is an assistant. You see some of them, and Brian, I'm sure you've seen this a million times. They hire that person, and then they blow up, or they hire that person, and then they do the same amount of deals.
Because they stop doing all the stuff that they're supposed to do. They literally put everything on that person, and so they like, not only do they realize, like, oh, this help is pretty cool, I'm just going to start giving her all this ton of stuff to be able to do, and they stop actually going out there and hunting. They don't go out there and continue to get the business, because now they're like, yeah, this is kind of nice to get a bunch of free time. I'm just going to kind of use it to hang out and go to the beach more and do all that. And it's like, I hate to break it to you, you're not there yet. Yeah. You know, nobody has ever become a millionaire because you hired one part-time employee. Like, that does not work. You know?
Really?
What the heck?
Dang it.
And you watch it all the time, you know. And for me, like, when I brought on my first assistant, I was like, oh, crap. I got another mouth to feed. Like, I need to go out there and get twice as much food now because I got to feed 2 people. And then every time you go out there, if you try to keep that mindset, is remember, you're not just trying to give them work, but that person has entrusted their financial security of their life and their family's life to you. And if you don't feel that pressure, like, there's something wrong with you. Because I know, I'm sure with you two, with all these agents and all these people on your team, they're relying on you to not only help them and get their paychecks in, but their husbands are relying for they cover their half of their mortgage. Their kids are relying to buy their school. I mean, that's a lot of pressure, you know?
It's a lot of pressure. Some will crumble under that pressure. Some enjoy being able to give that opportunity, and I am one of those people. I enjoy that I am able to give so many people opportunities to be on a great team and to be a part of a great ride. And
make more money than they've ever seen.
As a side note, because I know people are always going to ask, one of your best agents, just a quick example, you don't have to say their name, what have they made in 1 month income because of the systems that you put into place?
Oh, so it was pretty cool. We had last year, 2018, we had a 3-month run where a different agent on the team each month made take home more than $30,000.
That's so huge.
And some of these agents, that was more than they made all of the previous year. And they did that in 1 month. And we had a 3-month run where it was a different agent each time. So it was pretty cool. I think we did that about 4 or 5 times last year.
That's amazing.
Where someone on the team made over $30,000.
That leads me directly into like another question for you. I know, we talk about millionaire real estate agents, and like you see it, they'd made $1 million in a year being a real estate agent. People are like, yeah, right, okay. Well, then I have somebody sitting in front of me that made $2 million as a real estate agent. How do you fight complacency? Like, how are you not like, well, I'm chilling, I'm going to cruise then. I'm going to go surf on my Malibu all day and just then go surf the ocean in the afternoon. Like, what steps do you have in place that where you're like, all right, I'm not going to be complacent this year? Because you're pretty set now. You could lay off the gas.
I could cruise.
Right.
I could cruise. So I tell a story all the time. And to answer it in one word, Sandy. My wife's Sandy. So I tell this story all the time. I didn't want a team. So in 2015, we did 64 transactions. We were making more money, probably double, triple the amount of money that we had ever made before. Brian, I think that's about when we met you or started running into you. And I was happy. I was surfing, I was having fun, playing a little, working a little, making a lot of money, being successful. Sandy, so here's how it works. So Sandy at all times is smashing on that gas pedal, and I am holding on to that steering wheel for dear life, just trying to navigate through everything. And she hasn't let up yet. So I think it's really going to come down to her. The question should be, when is Sandy going to let off? Because,
let's call Sandy.
Yeah, let's give her a call. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. Okay. She has some pretty lofty goals. We have a pretty big why in our life. So it's...
Do you set big goals? Do you set income goals? Do you set life goals? Is it because you have, 13? How many agents do you have now under you?
17 right now.
17 mouths to feed, as you would say. Do you think that's part of the reason? Is because, well, you've delegated a lot, but you also have a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. So we could probably hit the cruise control and keep doing 250 a year for the next foreseeable future. That's not what we want to do. Yes, absolutely, we have goals. My goal for 2018 was 365 deals. I wanted to sell a house a day. It sounds cool, right? It sounds cool to sell a house a day. Obviously, we hit 250, so we didn't make it, but that's okay. Yeah. Because if I would have set the goal at 250, we probably wouldn't have reached 250.
You should have worked harder.
Yeah, so, yeah, right? But no, I don't think it's necessarily pushing and pushing and pushing because we have more and more mouths to feed, because we could probably cruise at this point with what we're doing and still provide a really awesome life for a lot of people. We just... there's that we have that want to be the best. Mm-hmm. Right now Brian started off the show saying that I was number 2, and that puts a fire in me. Yeah. And I love the number 1 agent in our area. They're absolutely an amazing team. I look up to them. I appreciate them. But they drive you. They do. They drive me to beat them. Yeah. And if I am so fortunate to beat them someday, it's going to drive them to beat me. So it's just going to raise us all up.
Right. What would you say, Decker, at $200 million, right, in a year?
Yeah.
What keeps you going to that next?
Honestly, it's a two-way street. So one is, once you get to that level, you're on a train. You can't just get off it, So every day there is a lot of momentum that is constantly propelling you forward. And I don't like to be where I was yesterday. Like, I cannot stand eating the same I don't eat leftovers. Like, I just don't like those things. Like, I'm like, if I had as much money as I could possibly do, I would never wear the same underwear every day. I'd wear different socks every day. Like, for me, I like every day to be a new experience, and I am so terrified of going backwards, because what I have watched around me is constantly being humbled by people that they're not motivated by money. And that's a scary thing. When somebody is not motivated by money and they're motivated by legacy, it is a dangerous experience to have, because you can't beat those people. It's like the guy that he doesn't want the championship belt. He just wants to crush everybody he faces. Like, the belt is just a result of what he is doing. It's not what he is going after. And so I think even for me, this is my 3rd year doing 200 million. And honestly, at the end of the day, for me, I just want to find a better way to work the same amount of time to do 300 million, because I know how to get to the number. So it's not the number. My now goal is, how can I be more efficient and provide a better experience? The number and the amount of money I make is no longer my goal. It's how can I do it better? How can I do it easier? It's like the guy that can dunk the basketball. He's figured out how to dunk. He's just not content on dunking. Now he's like, I want to dunk higher. Now I want to go under my legs. You want all these different things. And I think that for all of us, we're competitive individuals of ourselves, and we're our biggest competitor ourselves. We don't want to lose to the version of ourselves yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, and our competitors, they want us to lose.
Yeah.
They're waiting for us to slip up. And if that's not motivation in and of itself, then you're doing something wrong, because, the haters fuel us. So the more people that are against you, the more people that want you to lose, it's just going to build you up higher and higher and higher.
Yep, exactly. And I always say, like, envy's an ugly color on anyone, like it's one of those things where it's like, and I think too, for my biggest thing is it's that, I have the fortunate thing with my wife that she, in a good way, I don't walk home and it's not like, woo, the mortgage guy is here in the house. It's like I walk in the door and she's like, you forgot to take the trash out of the morning. I put it in the garage for you. Make sure you take that out. So it's like you go home and you're like, oh crap. Like, yeah, everyone was a yes man at my office today, but I'm back to reality. And, like there isn't this like, you come home to your fiefdom and just relax every day. So I think it's like when you have that like constant reality check of like, hey, you still put your shoes on the same way as everybody else. Mm-hmm. It like, you go to work every day with that hunger and that fire in you,
Instantly humbled.
Yeah.
Instant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dave, what would you think is like your next step?
Wow. So next step for me is to keep kind of working out of production and keep building systems wise. So Decker touched on it a little bit earlier with technology. We're continuing to use technology to leverage what we're doing to increase conversion. So conversion is something that is never going to be perfect. It's something that we're always going to have to be work on. But really for me in the real estate world is training the agents. I've realized it takes about 3 to 4 times as much training as I initially thought it was going to take with agents on the team to get them where they need to be for conversion, and systems and technology. Continuing to grow, continuing to just try new things. Just be the first one at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think too, when you are constantly having that hunger to try to bring new things in, and I think what a lot of times in the real estate world is people only look at technology being used in real estate and implementing on a team. When people have to understand, like, the mortgage and real estate world is so far in tech behind so many other industries that are out there. And that's the cool part. Like, I know for you, like, watching you stuff, you look at what other industries are using on something, you're like, I can do this and I can put this here, and I think that's why you guys have seen that growth, whereas so many people are like, they'll Google like, oh, how are real estate agents converting leads? Where you're like, wait, that's a really cool experience I just had when I bought that Ford truck. We're doing this. They did this and this. I'm going to figure out a way to do that.
Yeah, always learning. I mean, everything across the board. So we're talking about real estate today, but really we're talking about everything across the board. And what we're implementing in our businesses today, Christian, we've had this conversation. If we ever wanted to do anything else or open up any other type of businesses, what we're doing in real estate, or Decker, what you're doing with loans, man, we could take it to anything we wanted to. It can be used across the board.
I get this question. I've actually had this question probably 10 or 15 times on the Modern Empire page. Is like, well, is your podcast just all about real estate and lending? No, because the real estate and lending practices, some things are about that, but some things will go across. I mean, the majority will go across apparel sales.
Yeah.
I mean, anything sales wise, and anything as far as, even if you're working under people, if you're implementing some of these things, working under somebody else, they're obviously going to pay you a lot more because you're building their business a lot bigger, right?
Yeah. And I think too, we're all in, like, even though I do loans or technically by trade per se, we all use our golden goose to fuel our other projects. So I think too, I know at least my aspirations, like, mortgage is only going to take me so far. I can only do so many loans someday. There is a definite ceiling on this. And what I use this business is to learn everything I can on the consumer level. Because the greatest thing about no matter what we're talking about here is we're selling a widget or we're selling a service. The way we deliver that widget or service to the consumer to attract them, to incubate them and convert them, you can do anything else. Like, David, if you would, instead of real estate, if you had decided to do insurance sales, you would be exactly where you are today, but in the insurance sales world.
Correct.
You're just selling a different widget.
100%. 100% true.
And I know, Stone, for you, the reason why you probably have such a crazy work ethic is you were going and studying to be an EMT, which EMTs have the most insane hours, 24-hour work schedules. You know, you watched your pops growing up. I mean, firemen work insane hours, on shifts, officers. So you just had that inborn and ingrained to you. And I think what most listeners need to really understand is when you reach that point where you're like, shoot, I am not at where I want to be, and they have a level of contentment because like it's going to be a little too hard to get to that next level. Well, what I strongly suggest doing is start watching your competitors. Watch your competitors, because when you see somebody in your industry doing something that you're like, oh crap, I wish I thought of that, it starts to light that fire back under your butt because nobody likes to lose.
Right, and watch your competitors with intent to learn.
Yeah.
Not watch most people watch their competitors with the intent to hate, or to be jealous, which is sad. I look at my competitors and I become friends with them.
Yeah.
But it's because we can always learn from somebody. I learn stuff from people who are below me. I'm like, oh wow, that's actually really smart.
Yeah.
You know? So, or watch the people who are above you with an intent to learn something new every day.
So let's talk about that for a second, because I feel like, not to toot my own horn, but I feel like that's one thing that Sandy and I have done very, very well in our little pocket, Southwest Riverside County here, is befriending other agents and building relationships with people that are in the industry. No longer looking at them as a competitor, but looking at them as a coworker. So I have to go to work every single day with thousands and thousands and thousands of other realtors in our area. They call me, I call them. I need an offer accepted. They need the offer accepted. But most agents treat each other so terrible. And we were talking about this a little bit earlier. When we have a client, the money isn't in that one transaction. The money is in the lifetime of the client and the referrals that come with that as well. It's the same thing with the agents that we work with. If I do a deal with Christian Stone, he lives in one city, I live in the other city right next to it. Don't you think we're going to run into each other again? Yeah, absolutely. So why wouldn't I try to build a great relationship with him so that we can all work together and make it easier to get offers accepted with each other, especially the players in the market.
Yeah.
If you're not out there trying to, and again, this relates to any business out there, if you're not out there trying to build friendships with the other players in your industry, you are doing something wrong. When we started building these relationships is when our business, again, really took off, because I'm able to learn about sides of the business that I'm terrible at that Christian's good at. And I'm able to learn amazing conversion tools from Brian Decker. If we didn't have those relationships, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah. People want to work with who they like. And we all know it. And I don't care what anybody says, and I know there's certain ethical things in some industries and other, but at the end of the day, we as human beings choose to spend time with our friends over people that are just our acquaintances because we enjoy their company. The same translates into the world of business. I know personally, when I get deals across my desk and I see two agents on the other side of a transaction that I don't like each other, I'm like, great, I'm gonna have to work twice as hard to hold this glue together because everything's gonna be combative. And what's gonna happen is the buyer and the seller, who are their clients for life, are going to have a negative experience because you guys should be working towards the same goal, because your buyer and the other agent's seller, you want them to be your clients for life. If you are not looking for a harmonious business relationship with that other agent, I don't care how good of a job you're going to do. If the other agent is being combative with you, both of your clients are going to suffer, and therefore your business is going to suffer. And honestly, at the end of the day, why would you not want to be kind to somebody that you're going to run into again that can make you money? That is just, it's insane to me.
Yeah, and you don't have to be best friends. Like, we're not going to get along with everyone, but we could be courteous.
Yeah.
We could be kind. You know,
I would say everybody needs to just shift their mindset, because it's all mindset is really what it is. It comes from a scarcity mindset. Like, okay, there's not enough business, so I have to be really mean to David because I'm going to be the one getting most of the business, right? Or I want to be the one getting most of the business. They have to shift their mindset out of that scarcity, because not only in real estate, but in every business, there's plenty for everybody.
Yeah.
There's so many people on the planet that there's plenty of business for all of us.
Your life will change when you switch your mindset from scarcity to abundance.
Yep,
when you live in the abundance mindset, my God, it's a good place to be.
Yep.
And you shock people. Like, I know when, like, I hit you up, David, and I'm like, hey, I have a buddy of mine. His name's TK. You know, he works in another, you know, it's not in the immediate area. He really was impressed with you on doing it. You know, he was just he wanted me to ask you if you wouldn't mind sitting down with him because, you know, he's where you were 2 years ago and had questions. And when he had asked me, he was like, hey, do you think David would ever have lunch with me or whatever? I'm like, yeah, he would for sure. And he was like, don't you need to ask him? I was like, no, he's just that type of guy. He'll 100% take some time and go to lunch. And he was just like, oh my gosh, that is awesome. Awesome that he would actually take that time to go to lunch with me, because I just think that there is the fear of the competition when in actuality is like, even if you may not have the intent of doing that, you on your end could be one helping your business along in the future, because you also too are going to pull things from him, because a mastermind, even if you guys aren't on the same, you know, socioeconomic level, you guys are going to both learn things from each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. We talk about that actually all of the time. So I'm also a real estate coach. So I train other teams all over the United States on how to grow their business and implement similar systems to what we're doing here. I learn just as much from my clients that are doing half or even less than half the amount of business that I am than they learned from me. And that is the beautiful thing. Yeah, I'm sure I absolutely took some great nuggets away from TK. Yeah. Now, Brian, you had me at a right moment when you asked me about TK, because we were at the river together on your Pravati. So you caught me at the right time. Would I have helped him no matter what? Absolutely. That's just the kind of guy that I am. I want to give back. I want to make the industry better. I want to make it better.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, dude, for coming on this. I really appreciate it. I know you're super busy. I mean, what could you leave one thing, not real estate related, but business related, that somebody could be like, all right, I listened to that podcast, I'm going to go do this tomorrow. End us with that.
So we touched on it already, and I'm really passionate about this. Figure out what you're not good at and make that leap of faith and delegate that out. Do that higher.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, bud. I know that, you know, you're going to make sure that you post when you get that sweet Mega Raptor done.
Oh.
Yes, you know it. I'm going to plug that.
Plug it. You know. Plug the Instagram. Follow David Team Stites.
There you go. 100%. Wait till you guys see this truck. It's, what is it? They take what, F-250 or F-350?
Okay, so they could do both. Okay. So Jeremy with Mega Raptor, or now it's called Mega Rex, because Ford didn't like him using the Raptor name.
Gotcha.
But he takes the F-250 or F-350 body, basically, and just turns it into a Raptor. And on 46-inch 46-inch Michelins.
If you didn't like the podcast, just follow his Instagram just to see that truck.
Yeah. So it's January 2019 now. It's supposed to be done March 2019. So we got a few more months to wait, but it's going to be insane. It's going to be fun.
I can't wait to have you tow that thing with our boats out to the river.
It's going to be a mad photo shoot.
Yes, dude, the whole way.
It's going to be ridiculous, but... Well, cool, man. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on. And as you guys continue to, make sure to tune in and listen. And the biggest thing I've always said with everybody is, people make a list of like 70 things that they take from an episode or do this or that. All I ever recommend somebody do, take the top 2, choose one to implement this week, and choose one to implement in 2 weeks from now. Because the problem is everybody makes a giant to-do list that you're never going to accomplish. Look at it, pick out 1 or 2 that you want to do, implement those, and put it into your business or put it into your life's practice. And I guarantee you, in 9 months, you're going to be completely transformed to the extent where you would have never been with these long to-do lists that you do. So check it out now. Make sure you check in Modern Empire. Once again, appreciate everything, boys, and let's rock and roll.
Have a good one.
Woo!